Talk. It's the Revved Up Sports Show talking local, regional, and national action. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another Monday night edition of everybody's favorite race and talk show. This is indeed the Revved Up Sports Show.
The best.
Showtime, Bobby Chaffee right here. The Iceman, Rodney Rodriguez, punching the buttons over there. A little bit of rock and roll and disco intro tonight.
That's what I do.
You always did want to be a DJ.
I did. Forever. Country, though.
No, well, there's that. Yeah.
Country music was my thought. Welcome in, friends. Glad you all are a part of the program tonight. We got a fun one coming up. Garrett Gregory, the bounty hunter. The bounty hunter. I posted that, and people are like, he didn't win the bounty. I'm like, he won.
He won the bounty. I was there.
Yeah, he won.
He passed both number 94s to win
That's
that
right.
race.
That's right. Don't hate. Don't hate. He's a bounty hunter. He's coming up, and then, dude, I am super excited. 7:10. We get to talk. We were trying to figure out who we wanted to talk to from 105, and I've been slacking ass on doing show prep and everything for this week. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to call the honorary recipient. Howard Willis rejoins us.
Howard Willis with the show again. Obviously going to be a special, very special weekend down at 105 Speedway. That's going to be one hell of a show. Working on logistics to get myself there. I know you're doing the same. Gonna be a challenge.
The man
of stuff happening that
the
weekend.
man that said that he was going to whip my ass.
And he backed it up too.
Yeah, he did. He sure did. And then coming up later, we get to talk to Jared Edmond, big winner there at South Texas Race Ranch. So very, very cool show. Thank you all for being a part of this. Be sure and share, push this to the masses. All of our friends checking in on Race on Texas. Another big weekend there of action happening with the network there. But Bobby, I do want to dive in right here. I want to ask you, because we always talk about, and I always repost the first 15 because that's kind of the best part of the show, because that's very raw, uncut, unfiltered, just kind of bullshitting about whatever. So you got to go. So you took a bunch of people to the racetrack for the first time. And I want to get your analysis of what they were saying. And there's no need to pick on a racetrack, because a lot of these racetracks operate the same fucking way, to where they do all the same shit. But so what you go in there? What did they think of the entire presentation that they saw this past weekend?
Well, part of it is, I got to first off thank H and Marianne for the hospitality. They went above and beyond with my coworkers. Letting them experience race control and stuff like that. So
you went all the way up there?
Yeah, they got a chance to experience the whole 9 yards. Marianne,
they heard HE saying, "Slow the hell down."
Yeah, I even kind of poked in during a couple of cautions and had him turn around, and he shook the hands of a couple of my coworkers. So, thanks to them they're just going above and beyond and just being super cool and wanting them to get the full experience, which they did. As far as the overall reaction, I think the biggest thing, so one of the things I think that they had some of them left at intermission, because I don't think they were ready for the marathon.
That's not surprising.
Because they got there at 5:30, 6 o'clock, a little late start, about 7:20 down there. But we ended up having a really good time. The racing action was good. The track was exceptionally good for the heat races. And it's the same thing. One of the things I noticed is with one of the people, they were kind of a gearhead, and it got harder and harder to explain the different stock car classes. And that's not to say that they run too many, because a lot of the tracks run the same. You had a factory stock, you had a stock car, and then you had another class that was run the street stocks. They were all running metric cars, and it was kind of hard to explain the difference between metric. So the street stocks, these guys have a Camaro clip. Some of them do. Some of them are full-fledged racing frames, for the most part. So you could explain those, but it got a little hard to explain the difference between the stock cars and the factory stocks. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, they had a good time. They did not stay for the whole show. Like I said, they were not used to the whole 8 hours of commitment that sometimes it takes to sit in front of a racetrack.
Yeah.
I ended up actually staying fairly late myself, but it's like you say, if I'm going to stay at a racetrack till 2:00 in the morning, it's going to be on my accord, not because I'm watching race cars done. They had a little bit of a late start. They ended up finishing up just a tick before midnight, and my friends had been long gone. But all of them, even reaching out to them today, saying, hey, they wanted me to tell you that thanks for coming by. They were all like, man, that was awesome. Got a couple of new fans. They're talking about going up on the 26th. So, and it's been hard. It's been hard for me to get to Cotton Bowl, despite the fact how close it is to the house, a little over an hour, because the way the schedules shake out, Cotton Bowl and Texana go head to head, and it's hard for me to break away from Texana. Clearly, just committing to the track and the announcing down there. So when I saw an opening in the schedule, where Cotton Bowl wasn't racing head-to-head, and had friends that had been talking about wanting to go to the races at the office that I worked at, been trying to get some of them to come for 7 years, right? Even back in the old Central Texas Speedway days.
Damn, that long?
That long. So, and finally just got an opportunity, messaged a couple of people, said, hey, there's the deal. I called I went to the top. Like we talk about on the show all the time, if you have a question, comment, or concern, and you can't find the answer, get with the promoter, and the promoter will tell you. And that's exactly what I did. I got with Marianne, asked her some questions about some tickets and some of the schedule stuff, and she got right back to me, let me know, and then, it was on from there. So they had a good time. Milton Hope did a shout out for me and the coworkers, so they liked that too. So it was, all in all, I think it was a success. Like I said, some of them are going to go back. Some of them said they go back again. They may not go back. Wait till it's a lot cooler, and temperature wise to go back. But
the enduro.
Yeah.
Go to the enduro.
The icebreaker enduro.
That's kind of the main thing to do right there. And I think kind of what you're talking about right there. And again, that was not something that I asked you before we ever started, but what he's talking about right here is what I talk about all the time on this show. You've got to condense this thing. And I'm not picking on the racetrack that you were at, because I see it at every freaking racetrack that I go to. It's like, man, this thing drags out on and on and on and on. And you're gonna keep the 50 people that always go there all the time. They're gonna
watch
hang
the whole
around.
thing. Yeah.
They're gonna stay all the time. And the whole thing is, I mean, they're like guilty. I mean, they want to go home, but they don't. I mean, they feel like they need to stay there. And that's why I think that when you get all these shows together, when you have a weekly show and you're trying to pile in 8-10 classes in there, I mean, it was the downfall of asphalt racing in the state of Texas. And the whole thing is, everybody gave us a bunch of grief as to how that was killing racing. It's like, my God, why in the hell are you running 10 classes? Why don't you run 4? And then I go to tracks all around the state around here, and you got 7 or 8 classes. I'm like, well, what happened?
Yeah, and the part of it too, though, was that the car count was exceptional at Cotton Bowl.
Well,
their ecosystem,
they don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, their ecosystem is great.
They
They have great sponsors. They have great car count and really good buy-in from their racers over there.
Yeah.
So a couple of the people, they left at halftime or intermission, whatever we want to call it, because they had 3 heats of car. Had 18 to 20 cars in every class, so they ran 3 heats. And you get 7 classes with about 3 heats apiece. That's for them that don't know anything else. That's 21 races.
Right.
They're like, so what's happening next? I'm like, well, they're gonna remember how they had 3 heats of the same class. I was like, of 18 cars, they're gonna bring all 18 out and race again all together. They're like, oh wow.
Yeah.
And then it was like, then I had to explain to them, well, it takes this time and this time, and then
yeah.
like I said, some of them they just started falling off just because they just didn't know.
Yeah.
I've taken some hardcore fans to certain racetracks, and with the fact it was running so late, they couldn't stay.
Well,
but I mean that but it's part of it. Racing is the unique thing. Our hardcore people are going to stay, no matter where we go. Whether we announce in Waco, we announce at Cotton Bowl, Texana, your hardcore fans are going to stay for the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is with the newer race fan. They show up. I mean, some of the younger people that you're trying to get out to the racetrack, they come out, and at whatever point, you have all the heat races and all this shit that happens, and then you have a big intermission in there. They say 10 minutes, but it's never 10 minutes, and you have that in there. And it's like the newer race fans, it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. That not race fans, the younger folks, 9:30, 10 o'clock. That's when they're like, boom, here we go. It's time to. They're doing all that, and you're still sitting there at intermission with jack shit happening. I think that's the big part of the problem, and it. When you start feature racing at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and that's a drawback. I mean, because you got to be entertained. I mean, you got to have shit happening. And again,
but you have to have an intermission though.
Well,
you have to give the fans a time to at least take a quick break so they can go take a piss.
Well, and I see right here, Birmingham says it's called Saturday Night Racing for a reason. Yes, to you guys, to us, yes. That's right.
We know when we get there at 5 o'clock, we're going to be there till midnight.
And that's the 50 fucking people that are going to hang around. When you're trying to draw new people in, they're not going to sit there and watch nothing. They're not going to sit there and listen to the music, playing on the PA and sit there listening to he or I sitting there telling jokes and doing all these different things. Man, they're going to go find something else to do. I mean, they're going to go sit out in the car and listen to a podcast and head on down the road. I mean, that's old school right there. That is old school logic exactly right there as to the old fan versus the new fan. And we can sit here and say, the old fans, yeah, whatever. There's not a lot of old fans left.
You got to get the new blood in.
You got to get the new people in.
But I got to tell you, in my mind, there needs to be at least enough intermission because you do have enough combination of your hardcore fans and if they're trained right. Say, okay, look, we got a quick intermission. We got the heat races are done. Main events are coming up. Now's your chance. Take a break. Run down. Visit the house. Run down. Visit the concession stand because sometimes fans need a chance to take a break so that they can actually. A lot of them don't. The old timers won't admit it, and even some new, they don't want to miss anything, so they sit there and hold it all night long, and that is uncomfortable for them. Then they finally break. Yeah. They want to take. So I think you have to have at least a 10-minute intermission.
Well,
something just to give them a break so they come back wanting more.
And that's the whole thing to where, I mean, I work at Waco, and I'm about to throw them under the bus. Is a couple of the last times that I've been at Waco, it's like, okay, 10-minute intermission, and they want to get out and work the track. And I get that. I get that. I know you got to, I know we're in a fucking drought and all these different things that are going on, but you get out there, then it's a 10-minute intermission, and you're going to go work the track for 30 minutes. It's like, and people are sitting there, and again, the regular fans are going to be like, all right, we'll just sit here and whatever. But it all comes down to the new customers, and I know that we don't think that we need new customers. But the next time you're at a racetrack and you look around and there ain't nobody in there, where's the rest of the old people that used to be there?
Although I will say with the heat, Cotton Bowl had a really good crowd. With back to school, because the back to school races, we've talked about it for years and been paying attention to it for years. You never know what you're going to get the weekend before the kids go back to school during the week, because you don't know if parents are trying to save money to pay for school supplies because school supplies are expensive. They may allocate that racing money they used to get in to buy new school clothes, haircuts, all that stuff. So you never know what you're going to get when it comes to the weekends right before back to school. And I saw the Race Ranch had a fairly decent crowd.
That was a great crowd.
Down there, but they also did the backpack giveaway, so that helped out some.
Yeah.
Marion had a good decent crowd. The Waco crowd on Friday night was fairly normal for their stuff. So I think all in all, I think that the tracks that were able to get in had pretty decent car counts despite the heat and despite the fact that they're, fighting those, fighting all the other external variables like back to school and school supplies and all that. So it's I was impressed with the crowd they had at Cotton Bowl.
Well, the whole thing is you're going to get people to show up, and and that's a good thing. But then you go back to the whole streaming thing, to where folks don't have to go, and that's
the beer's cheaper and AC works.
I know, and I don't know what the Race on Texas numbers are. We're not privy to that. But that's a different option right there that changes that up to where you don't have to be there. And I'm not picking on people. I know I'm going to get blown up because I'm being negative Nancy here about everything, but it doesn't have to last all night. It really doesn't, and a lot of that, at the race ranch the other night, I sit there and I see cars, and this is, again, not to pick on the race ranch race control, because, the guy employs me, for crying out loud, for different times, but you got to sit out there and spin out and wait for a yellow flag and all that shit. I'm like, come on, man. Let's keep this thing moving. Yellow flag. Oh my God, it starts and rolls right off.
Yeah,
well, so it says in the shit. But that's nothing new. That's
2 solos and you're out, right? 3 total and you're gone. Supposed to be.
No, that's what I've been told. So anyway, but that's the whole thing. It needs to be more spectator friendly, and just get them in, get them out the door, and let's go. But anyway, so let's go to the hotline for the first time tonight. Rant is done. Kiddos nowadays don't see it as a party; they just see it as I'm sitting here bored. And well, that's what they do. I mean, they sit there bored. Thank you, Donna Kay. They sit there bored when they're going around under yellow. People don't want to see cars running around under yellow, and that's the one thing that I've gotten.
And I did have to explain the flags. That's the one thing I remember as a race announcer, though, to start explaining the flags to the new people.
Ooh, you almost messed up.
Yeah, almost, almost.
But good job.
Yeah,
he's all flustered down the camera. No FCC coming up around here. But no, I totally get what you're talking about. Look at him. He's worried now.
Yeah, it's all right.
To the hotline first time tonight. Bobby, you were there. The bounty hunter. He went out there and took care of it. A lot of money on the line right there. Hey, whatever the case is, I mean, the man that they were all chasing got beat, and this is the dude that took care of it from Tomball, Texas. My man, Garrett Gregory. Garrett, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, my man. So talk about this, dude. Cotton Bowl does not lack for car count. That's exactly what we've been talking about right here. They throw up all this extra money to go out there and beat Chris Morris, and you show up. Talk about the decision to head on out there to Cotton Bowl this weekend.
Yeah, we don't really get to race a whole lot nowadays with work and stuff. When we do, we try to chase the money. Chris has definitely been on another level this year.
Yep.
We ventured out there a couple times this year, and unfortunately, we've been the bridesmaid a couple times. But it's all right. I mean, it made us work on our stuff a little harder, But I will say I don't think we showed up to the racetrack with the same setup 2 times this year. Mm-hmm. So all in all, it's making us faster and better racers.
Well, Garrett, I thought you did a good job. I was there in person, got to watch it. You passed both 94 cars cleanly. I thought Brenda was going to take off and leave everybody over there, but the car seemed consistent. Once you got out front, though, it seemed like the car was consistent. I was watching the lap times, and they seem, relatively consistent. So talk about the night as a whole. I mean, heat race-wise, I think, everybody was just trying to wait for the track to do what it was going to do by the time your intermission came along, or by the time the main event came along after intermission. So talk about the race night as a whole as it progressed through the evening.
Yeah, I made a couple changes this week in the shop, and I was kind of up in there if they're going to work or not. We ran hot laps. Hot laps, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell what it's going to do, but I mean, I felt like it was pretty good. Heat race, it was still pretty good, and as soon as we took off on the feature, unfortunately I started on the bottom. Chris was able to kind of get to the front before I did, but after we kind of strung out and I worked my way up through, I knew I had a good car. That caution kind of came at the right time. I was running them down before the caution, but yeah, it came at the right time, and I definitely think we're on the right track.
Yeah, no, that's a great thing right there. And let's talk about modifieds in general. Kind of talking about, Cotton Bowl does a good job. They always have a really good car count with all that. Just kind of your thoughts on modifieds. I know a lot of weekly tracks struggle. I know there's extra dollars that come in right there, but your thought just on that class in general. To me, the coolest ass class of them all. But man, it's getting tough. It's getting tough to get some really good car counts in regular shows.
Man, it is. It's kind of unfortunate. The modifieds, I think by far, probably my favorite car I've driven. Mm-hmm. I've driven anything from a full body car to a sport mod to even a dwarf car. I mean, it just something about the modified. I love the engineering aspect of it. I love the way they drive. It is unfortunate that the car counts are kind of dwindling. I think with the right organization between the tracks, I think we might be able to get that picked up, hopefully in the future. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we try to venture around and stuff. Dallas and stuff usually has, a couple more cars, but I think if the tracks just try to work together a little bit here and there, I think we can maybe pick it up and get more people interested in it.
Oh, man, I agree.
It'd be nice. I will say, in terms of the modifieds, I brought 13 new people to the races this weekend, a bunch of coworkers, and was trying to explain the different classes. I was explaining the difference between a sport mod and a modified to them. And I said, you know, they're going to look alike, because I said, but watch this. When you guys came out there in the modifieds, and this was even during hot laps and in the heat races, those cars sell themselves about how badass they are. So that's pretty cool. So now talk about, in terms of like an IMCA sanction versus like an outlaw mod. What all is the difference? As somebody that runs a regular IMCA modified, what is the difference between a regular IMCA modified and, say, a Tom's outlaw modified?
Well, you know, an outlaw mod, you can take an IMCA car, basically put a big motor in it, and you could go run outlaw all day long.
Yep.
Outlaw, you know, there's the components themselves physically move the same and work the same. Now, there are some lightened parts you're able to run, like in outlaw stuff, where like the IMCA stuff, we got to run all steel components, or, you know, I think the outlaw stuff you're able to run like fabricated lowers and stuff like that. But as far as the chassis and the way everything works, I mean, they're damn near the same car. Obviously, you're on a different tire, you know, USRA stuff. Yep. But the IMCA stuff, you know, I used to run outlaw. And, you know, if you don't have a big sponsor, they're really hard to maintain week to week. You know, the motors and stuff are super high dollar. Whereas, you know, if you blow a motor up in one of these IMCA cars, I'm not saying it's cheap, but it's a whole lot cheaper than if you blow an outlaw one up, you know. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I would love to run outlaw, but that's kind of what made me gravitate towards the IMCA stuff. Yeah. And you can run anywhere in the country, really, you know, besides, you know, over in the east. But I mean, you can run all the way up to Iowa, run the Super Nationals, you know, all the big events and stuff. You can just kind of travel around.
Yeah. I've always thought that's one of the biggest coups right there. I mean, with that, I do want to ask you, Garrett. I ask each and every one of you modified guys that come on here with the factory stocks and everything that they're doing right now. I mean, the big money purses. You see so many guys that are building those race cars and doing that. How much has that affected the sport mods and the modifieds to where it's like these guys want to go chase money and maybe it's a little bit cheaper to build one of these race cars? Your thoughts on the factory stocks as they've evolved to this point?
Yeah, you know, the factory stocks, you know, the money, everybody's also obviously going to be chasing the money. It's really hard to point the finger at anyone, because I mean, if I had a factory stock, I'd be running all the big shows and stuff too. It you know, it kind of sucks. The modifieds don't really. Well, we got big races and stuff, but I don't know. I think the factory stocks are really good beginner class. You know, the sport mods used to be kind of the same way, and I think everything just kind of goes in cycles. Mm-hmm. You know, you saw with the sport mod for years, you know, they've kind of started dwindling down on the big shows here in the last 5-6 years. And yeah. I think the factory stock stuff, I think it's just a cycle, you know, but I mean, not knocking the class. Obviously, it's a really good beginner class. But yeah,
I love it.
That's my thoughts on it.
Yes, sir.
Especially when I told my coworkers, I said, "See that factory stock right there?" I said, "That one's about $25,000." They're like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, that big car over there, that one's about 25." Yeah. I was pointed at a big mod. And I'm like, "Well, that one over there, that one's about 20 to 25 too. I don't know which one you'd want to drive." They're like, "Well, hell, I want to drive the one with no fenders, right?"
Yeah.
So those just seem like they just seem so much fun. Now, in terms of your driving style, when you go from track to track, I've seen you race down in Edna, mm-hmm. seen you race at Cotton Bowl, seen you race at a couple other things. How much? I mean, I know you got to change the car, springs, you know, gears, stuff like that. But how much for your driving style do you have to change, or is it one of those you just, you know, testicles out and against the wall and hammer down?
No, I mean, every track's obviously a little bit different. Cotton Bowl's, you know, more of a long sweeping track. Cotton Bowl's a very momentum-based racetrack, you know, whereas Edna is kind of a point-and-shoot type of track. So there's a lot of little changes we like to make to these things to compensate for the racetracks. You know, we go anywhere from Batesville, which is a big half mile, to, you know, Edna, you know, it's a little little point and shoot type tracks. So
Yeah.
you definitely have to you got to teach yourself how to drive, and even throughout the night, even when the track's hammered down, versus when it's slick, you got to really adjust your driving style, especially in these modifieds. A lot of these modifieds now, you got to keep them up on the bars, and if you're not up on the bars, the car won't act right. So
yeah, and talk about that part. I mean, more in depth, Garrett, as you mentioned. I mean, the whole thing is, I mean, there are so many different places where you can go run these cars, and to sit and watch you guys, different racetracks, and you guys, a gear change or whatever it may be, to go out and run these things. I mean, isn't that the beauty of these modifieds? I mean, it's relatively easy to modify the car to go run in different places, and I think that's one of the baddest ass parts about the modifieds that you guys race around the country.
it definitely is. Now with that though, you have so many adjustments. You can dial yourself out in left field really easy. So it's one of those things you really better have a good notebook. I take notes thoroughly every time we race. It doesn't matter if we suck or run good. If we suck, I know what not to do, and if we run good, I know that's a baseline. I mean, this Saturday, I wouldn't say we were perfect. We were definitely better than we've been, but it's definitely something right in the notebook for next time.
Nice, love it.
So you won the bounty with $900, and an average person would say almost $1,000 is really cool. That's an extra $1,000, but I don't think people realize how much money it costs to race one of these cars. Now, I don't want you to give away your whole secret or anything like that, but are you able to break even when you win a regular purse and say a $900 bounty? I mean, talk about that aspect of it, because these cars are not cheap.
Well, these cars, if you run local here, if you don't win, normally you're not breaking even.
That's right.
I mean, we're fortunately, we had the bounty and stuff, so we did pretty good. But normally we like to chase the bigger stuff because it's hard to go out and run and say you're on second, and second doesn't even break even. Whereas a 2 or 3 day show, you might run, you got better cars, you might run 5th, 6th, 7th, but you get better payout, and it helps you break even. So these things, there's definitely a lot of moving parts on them. There's a lot that can go wrong, that are costly, but I'll be honest, I don't think after it's all said and done, it's probably not any more than like a sport mod or a factory would be nowadays. I think there's a common misconception about that, but I think building a modified initially, you're going to have a little bit more in it, but as your operation's built, you can kind of maintain it pretty good, unless you just get, bad luck and get in a bunch of wrecks. But from my experience, it's not a whole lot more.
Yeah. No, I agree. And so do you think, Garrett, I mean, is it going to be one of those things to where, like you talked about, I mean, it is really so much. This sport is all full circle. I know on the asphalt side, we would always see classes, they fall off every 4 years, whatever. The modifieds, the big shows are the ones that really draw, the big hitters in and draw the big car counts. Do you think that at some point the modifieds, once again, I know it to me, the tracks that are trying to do modifieds on a weekly basis, they're not going to get them. They're not going to get them.
Yeah, I agree.
But do you think that with the modifieds, maybe a year from now, we're back up to where you guys are kicking ass and bringing in all the badasses from around the region?
Yeah, I've been racing mods probably 10 years now.
Yeah.
And I've seen it do this a few times. We had a pretty good car count when I first started. It kind of fell off, and then all of a sudden we had a bunch of modifieds and stuff again. And like I said earlier, I think everything just kind of goes in cycles.
It does.
I think we're actually on the building side right now. So I'm hoping here in the next year or two, I'm hoping our car counts can kind of increase. But, fortunately, a lot of the guys we run with, there's a handful of guys that are pretty dang good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always good. That as long as the racing stays good, as long as we don't go out there and tear everything up, I think from a fan aspect, it'll make people more interested and want to get involved. So
yeah, they definitely sell themselves. So what's left for you on the rest of the calendar? Are you talking about big shows? What big shows are circled on your calendar for the rest of 2023?
Well, man, I really wanted to run about 50, 60 shows this year, but with work and my schedule, it's not real feasible. But I was gonna try to run up to Boone. I think I might skip Boone this year. I think we're probably gonna hit Vegas. So that's definitely the big one for the year, I think. As far as shows coming up, I'll be running the Howard Willis race up this coming weekend at 105. I'll be running one of my buddy's cars. So hopefully we can go up there and hurt some feelings. But,
that's gonna be a hell of a show this weekend, that Howard Willis one.
Yeah. We went up there a couple weeks ago and tested. It went pretty good. We ended up getting the win. So hopefully that thing's dialed in too. So, but as far as big shows, man, I guess we'll just take them as they come. But Vegas for sure.
Yeah. Sounds good, man. Sounds like a plan. Looking forward to you getting out there this weekend at 105. Hopefully, Bobby and I will be there to check that thing out. That's going to be a monumental weekend for that, and a great job this weekend taking care of business over there and at Cotton Bowl. And keep doing it, man. You're one of the best, man. Glad you
Appreciate it.
Jumped on here tonight, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
You bet, man. Take care. Yeah. There he goes, Garrett Gregory. God damn. These guys, some of these guys, they talk so well.
Well, I mean, the lineup that you pull in sometimes are pretty good, and but it's so nice to get a chance for these guys. And you and I both know the promoter. Well, the one promoter that I do primarily work for wants that show to keep moving, so we can't get a chance to do interview after interview after interview with these expanders. So it's cool when they come in right from winning to come on here and they get a chance to actually, they get a chance to actually expand on their stuff. And he had some really good points that you'd never get across in a Victory Lane interview, but that's why that's what this show's all about, is to just get more in depth with the drivers, and learn what they want. Like, he's a 10-year veteran of the modifieds. He's seen the highs, he's seen the lows. He thinks it's back on the upswing. I think everybody's leaning more towards the outlaw stuff because it may be a little cheaper to buy aftermarket than the IMCA stamp stuff, but I don't know. Like he said, it's there's pluses and minuses on both sides of that world.
Well, and that's the one thing, getting to watch more and more of these races is where, seeing these modifieds out there. And like you were talking about, when you talk about, you take people out to the racetrack and you can take a sport. And again, I love the sport mods. If I factory stock, IMCA stock car sport mod, that's what I do. But man, it's a whole different thing when you take a modified out there. And
you smell the difference,
dude. And when they come out there and they're laying those things over, when they're up on the bars and all these different things, man, that right there, I mean, that's the baddest ass shit you're going to find at the racetrack. I mean, unless you got a sprint car show, whatever.
Sprint cars are late models,
right? But when you bring them out there, I mean, that is so cool. And I do agree with what Garrett's talking about right there. Is that I think it's on the upswing. I think that everything really does, like he was talking about right there, everything is on a cycle. I mean, it's like, with the factories, everything that we're seeing, it's like at some point that's going to bottom out. I know people don't want to hear that. And I think the biggest shift right now is with the KK tires that are coming in here, now that's kind of moving shit around. But when you get a guy that goes out there and wins all the money, on a slick, maybe that kills my effect right there. But I do think that the modified really is the thing that really does drive a dirt track, when it's like we're having racing this weekend and you're going to have a whether it be an outlaw modified, IMC modified, I don't give a damn. When you get 8 to 10 of those, even at this point, that right there.
There was 11. There was 11 at Cotton Bowl, and they put on a pretty damn entertaining race.
Well, and they do not, and that's the thing with Cotton Bowl. Cotton Bowl, I don't think I'd want to run a modified at Cotton Bowl. I'd rather run at Texana or the Race Ranch or Kennedale or one of those places because that place is so big. Same thing, same reason I didn't want to run a dwarf car at Cotton Bowl. It's just way big. But hey, whatever. I don't give a damn where they are. We just need a lot of modifieds on the racetrack.
Yeah, that they put on the show, and the only time they get upstage, and if you want to use the word upstage, is when a sprint car show's in town. Unless I know that the car count there for the late models was a little less than ideal for you guys down at the race ranch this weekend.
Yep.
So maybe 4 or 5 late models is not going to put on as good of a. I don't think 4 or 5 late models are going to put on as good of a show as 4 or 5 modifieds, big mods.
Yeah.
Because they seem to be a little bit closer together between the haves and the have-nots, and between the comparison between a crate late model and an IMC modified, they seem to be a little closer together on the mod side.
Yeah. No doubt. Good stuff right there. Garrett Gregory, the bounty hunter, taking care of business. He doesn't talk like a bounty hunter.
No, he did really good.
He just took care of business. Coming up, guys, the man
that kicked your ass.
He did, and he always will. Howard Willis is coming up next. # Real Race Talk, friends. This is the Revved Up Sports Show. You guys hang around. Got a lot of fun coming up. Jaden Edmond after that. Don't forget to check out the Fantasy League. Still time to be a part of that.
They kicked my ass this weekend.
You guys hang out.
Hey racers, Phil Whipple here again with the Revved Up Sports Show. For over a year now, you've heard me talking about our valued partners over at Generation Race Cars. During the first half of this season, GRC built cars have visited Victory Lane on 20 occasions, driven by 6 different drivers. We're proud of their success, and no more wins are ahead for them in the coming months. Generation Race Cars, located in Springtown, Texas, continues to offer new chassis body combos all the way to turnkey sport mods and limited modifieds. All cars are built just like the ones driven by recent winners Alex Hickam, Jeff Shepard, Dean Abbey, and Kyle Wilkins. Justin Long is committed to giving each and every customer the time they deserve, along with a commitment to bring quality into every build. When you're ready to join the winning team, give the guys over at Generation Race Cars a call at 817-528-2947. Take your racing program to victory lane with Team GRC.
Hey friends, Rogers Dabbs Chevrolet, GM Performance, Brandon, Mississippi. The best price that you're going to find on those 604s and 602s, I'm promising you guys. I have a lot of folks that reach out to me and they're like, hey, what's the price on that? I'm not going to say it on here, but message me and I'll give you that price. GM Performance, the best, whether it's a dirt late model, a crate late model, a trucks. I mean, we have sold motors to some of the truck teams and so forth. It really is the best spot that you're going to find at Rogers Dabbs Chevrolet. Check them out. I mean, they really are. They're good people up there in Brandon, Mississippi. They're going to find you the best price on shipping. That shipping is really cheap when it comes all the way down to Texas or Alabama, wherever it may be. It's Rogers Dabbs Chevrolet GM Performance, the best spot you're going to find for those GM Performance engines. Tell them you heard about it right here on the Revved Up Sports Show.
Hey racers, Phil Whipple here again with the Revved Up Sports Show. For over a year now, you've heard me talking about our valued partners over at Generation Race Cars. During the first half of this season, GRC built cars have visited Victory Lane on 20 occasions, driven by 6 different drivers. We're proud of their success, and no more wins are ahead for them in the coming months. Generation Race Cars, located in Springtown, Texas, continues to offer new chassis body combos all the way to turnkey sport mods and limited modifieds. All cars are built just like the ones driven by recent winners Alex Hickam, Jeff Shepard, Dean Abbey, and Kyle Wilkins. Justin Long is committed to giving each and every customer the time they deserve, along with a commitment to bring quality into every build. When you're ready to join the winning team, give the guys over at Generation Race Cars a call at 817-528-2947. Take your racing program to victory lane with Team GRC.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. Scientific data proves it. Size does matter. The bigger and wider your television is, the better. Football season is here, and the time is now to get your entire audio-video experience tuned up and ready. New flat screens, projection video, Dolby True HD surround, all the goodies at great prices and followed up with great service. So call us at 255-8678. That's 255-8678 or on the web at avconsultations.com.
All right, back here live on another Monday night edition with the Revved Up Sports Show. Good conversation with Garrett Gregory, your winner of the bounty there at Cotton Bowl Speedway.
Bounty hunter.
This weekend. Still get to hear from two more superstars. Really, you got the legendary superstar Howard Willis coming up in just a moment, and then Jared Edmond coming up there to round out the end of the show. So we'll still, I like the rock and roll tonight. It's a little different feel with the heavy duty rock, but
we just kind of dive.
You just got to find the right royalty free music to make the show work.
Yeah, you just dive in and find the good stuff that's going to feel good, and that's the main thing. So really good stuff right there. I love that conversation. Garrett Gregory talking about the modifieds. And again the modifieds, man. I am just so glad that they persevere. They persevere. We talk about persevering, but that's one of the things that's always been one of the great things right there, as you can hear persevering right there. Slip up right there.
That's all right.
We'll keep working on that.
He should know how it works by now. Many times he's been on here. So tell us what you think about the modified. Tell us what you think in terms of whether or not it's on the uphill, it's on the downhill. You can let us know in either one of the Facebook feeds, whether you're on the Race on Texas feed, Facebook feed, or you're on the Russ Facebook feed. Let us know what you think. Like, talk about the classes that you guys want to see. We mentioned it earlier about way too many classes. What's a good number of classes for you guys? What do y'all want to see?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we'd love to hear that. I mean, that's really good stuff to get y'all's input on what really gets your blood going when you go to a racetrack and see all these cool things. But all right, time to go to the hotline once again, and it's one of our show favorites right here. And I'll tell you, I'm so excited about this weekend because it is so. This is a weekend that oh my goodness, you were honoring one of the best of the best. I mean, I seriously, I love this guy. I mean, I am
one of our favorites. I love this dude too.
I am not ashamed to say it. I mean, this is one of my favorite people in the world. I mean, whether it be a race car driver, just a person, he's just such a good dude. And 50-year anniversary coming up at 105 Speedway. We were thinking about talking to some of the 105 people. I told Bobby, I said, I'm going to call the man. We're going to talk to the man. Big weekend coming up, and we welcome back once again my man, 23, Howard Willis. How we doing, sir?
We're doing good. How about y'all? Having a great day?
Yeah, well,
so far so good. It got better when you came on the phone line.
Oh, that's right.
That. Y'all was trying to pump me up, wasn't you?
So Howard, I do want to ask you, and I know we talked about this at Texana a couple months ago, but for you, this whole, I mean, we'll talk about this race and this weekend and all this stuff, but for you this year, just kind of talk about the year for you. It's one of those things to where I think you are totally fired up and ready to go. I mean, you're making a statement this year. Just talk about the 50th year for you as a whole.
Oh, 50 years. I mean, that's a long, long time. The year's good. I don't feel like it's been 50 years, that's for sure, because, I feel about as good about it as I did 20 years ago, about going to the racetrack. Yeah. The good part is I don't have to see myself all day long, I only see myself once in the morning, and that time of the day I look pretty old, but the rest of the day I feel all right.
What is it? My grandpa used to tell me you're only as old as you feel, so I guess that varies by day. But so in terms of, I got to talk to you there in Victory Lane at Texana when you won the race that you were down there to kick Rodney's ass successfully, and you did. And you talked about 1,000 wins, right? We joked about 1,001, maybe 1,002. racers always have a tendency to remember the ones that got away. But I want to know both of them. I want to know off the top of your head without even any kind of just throwing it out at you. I want to know the one that you remember the most. And then the flip side of that, the one that you remember where you didn't get it and you wanted it.
I had one over in Mississippi. I was leading a race, and it's a 100-lap race, and I was sitting there cruising. I mean, in the late model, the car was flying.
Yeah.
I come off turn 2, run over a brake rotor, and blew out the right front tire and went out in the woods.
Oh, shit.
No, boy.
That's the one that I remember that just hurts my feelings a lot right there. And the bad part of it is after the race, I told Robbie Starnes what happened, and Robbie said, well, he said, that was my brake rotor if it makes you feel any better. So we both drove all the way to Mississippi for me to run over his damn brake rotor.
Oh, my God.
And like I say, I think the most fun I had winning one was the one up there at Texas Motor Speedway. I don't think I've had anything that was any better than that. And I've run the top 2 or 3 in a lot of big shows. I never had the right equipment at the right time.
Yeah.
When I needed just a little bit more, I just didn't have it. And then other times when I really didn't need what I had, then I had it. But we were in different situations where we just didn't have enough then either. When I drove for Flynn, I had pretty good stuff. And I don't know, maybe I just wasn't good enough then. I think he got me when I was a little bit older.
No. And I do want to ask you, Howard, again about that. I know, when we talked to you before about that win at Bryan or at College Station, winning that race, that had to be so it's one thing that you talk about winning that race, but winning that race with the car, you were racing guys that had these prototype late models and all this super speedway shit and all these different things that they had. But you guys went out there and you go out there with a chassis that's probably outdated. You hang a body on there and you kick their asses on a wet Saturday afternoon, man. Kind of walk us through that day once again.
Yeah, we got there and the guy that drove the truck, old Dink, he said, this is the first time I ever drove off into a mud hole on purpose and got stuck. And they had us parked out there on the part of the little bitty circle track part. Yeah. They had us parked out there.
Yep.
And because the ARCA was in the pit area.
That's right.
And we went out and practiced a couple times. And then what was funny what I do remember is them guys, they had the ARCA practice, and we were standing there in the infield, and the track was still kind of half wet, and all them guys was going out there and just putting around. The ARCA cars were. And old Neil Bonnet, you could hear him. He was in Earnhardt's car.
That's right.
And he come off of the pit road down through 1 and 2, down the back straightaway. He never backed off the gas. He run wide open off into 3. And I thought, now he had more balls than them other guys did. He knew it was going to stick. Them other guys didn't know if they were going to stick or not to the track.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
But it was a fun deal. It was just one of them days everything went right.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, Howard, I got a weird question for you among some of the other weird questions I've asked you when you've been on the show. And long as you've been going, we've been talking about the factory stocks being popular now and maybe taken away from a sport mod or a modified because they're running the big money shows and all that for the factory stocks. Other than this huge purse they have going on this weekend at 105, there doesn't seem to be the large money purses for the sport mods anymore like there used to be. My question is, what in your mind is the cyclical time of a racing class? Because we've seen them come and go. Sport mods were kicking ass, then they dropped off. Modifieds were kicking ass, they dropped off. Late models were kicking ass, they dropped off. Doesn't seem like the factory stocks is anytime soon. What's the life cycle of a racing class? Is it 5 years so they start outpricing themselves? Is it 10 years, or was there just no magic to the number? It just goes until it goes and falls off.
I think you're probably right. I think it's probably about 10 years.
Yeah.
What they do, they just keep changing the rules until everybody said, hell, we need to start another class. Then they start over at the beginning again.
Yep.
Because right now the sport mods, they have replaced the modifieds.
Yeah.
You know, and the only difference is, I mean, they have a few more rules in it than the modifieds have right at the present time. But I mean, you can run a quick change, a Brin, you know, or a Burt, or a good motor. I mean, you can run a really good motor now. It's just a flat top piston motor, which they're just restricting it a little bit, but they're still keeping it. But what was funny is when we first started running the sport mods, I had both of them, and they were nice. The sport mod was faster than the dang modified.
Modified, yeah.
Yeah, I think just because you didn't have as much power, so you didn't spin the tires as much. You know, it was a lot easier, but
yeah.
But the modified was a heck of a lot more fun than the sport mod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I got in one of them, I thought, hell, is the corner ever going to get here?
Well, Howard, isn't that the funny thing? Because I'm old enough to remember it when we would go watch the big modified race in McAllen, and it was all modified. There was nothing, there wasn't a sport mod. There was no limited modified. There was none of that. It was a sport mod that kind of at that time was the factory stock that kind of dug in there and kind of beat up the modified to where you know, it was more affordable, you know, whatever the case was. It really is cyclical to where it just comes around full circle. I mean, it just continues to spin around and around.
Yeah, and that's what it does. Is you get one guy in there, he just changes the rule. Well, Ayler, he's dead and gone now, but he was one that would change the rule. Him and Patrick Villarreal kind of half-ass invented the sport mod.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they said, hey, let's build this and this and this, and then they eventually got to where that's what we had.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I kind of like it because it is a lot of rules to it, but it's not as bad as it used to be. I mean, you had to have a vacuum rule, and they checked that all the time, the compression rule, and crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they wore you out on that deal. But
that's right. That's right.
Because I had one at one time, and I sold it. I said, shit, I'm tired of trying to get through tech to pull the head off, pull the oil pan off, and all this stuff. I said, let's sell this thing, then we don't have to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. No, that's right, Howard.
But it's still fun.
No, well.
But this weekend, if all the people show up that say they're going to show up, it ought to be a heck of a deal.
Yeah.
But Lisa's worked really, really hard, you know, trying to get it all set up where she's got prizes to give out in the grandstand, you know, backpacks and just tote bags and all that stuff with pictures all over them. They got a new wrap for the car.
Uh-oh.
Actually,
boy.
I think they have 500 pictures on the car of the 23 car through the years.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's kick-ass.
So it ought to be pretty good. And it was funny. She showed me the wrap, and I said, well, one good thing about it, I said, it's in black and white. I said, that's about how it was whenever I did most of them races. You know, going by that song.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. You're still winning. I mean, that's the big deal right there. Howard, I do want to ask you before we cut you loose. So your thoughts, you know, a living legend, everything that you've been able to do. Looking at racing now, when we see these new classes, we got a kid coming on that's you know, eco mods, limited modify, or junior limiteds, whatever you want to call it. Isn't that really a good step, I think, for drivers that want to be the next Howard Willis? It's really a good stepping stone for them to be able to drive the cars that they're going to drive when they get to try to be the next Howard Willis.
Yeah, I think it is, because that way they're not having to compete.
Yep.
against the guys that they're not going to have a chance to beat for some years.
That's right.
Of course, every now and then they get up and like at Cleveland, they still don't have that class.
Mm-hmm.
They just run the limited. So, but every now and then you'll get one of them that he'll get his car set up just right, and he'll be right there with you.
Yep.
And racing really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like you. I think it's a good stepping stone. That way they know the car,
yep.
and they're not changing. They're just changing classes after they get, pretty much too good for that deal.
That's right.
All right, Howard, one last question before we cut you loose. And as always, we appreciate the time. It's always a great time talking to you. In terms of this weekend, obviously you've got the 50th anniversary race for you and to honor your career. Is it more cool for you that they're doing it for you? I know, and you're a very humble guy. Or is it more cool that they just put up a lot of money to bring a lot of really good racers to just put on a hell of a show in your honor?
I think it's the second deal.
Yeah.
I mean, if all the drivers show up that say they're showing up, I think it's pretty cool that they all come to that race, for that reason. And most of the money that was put up was sponsors that I've had through the years
yep.
that put up the money. I mean, old sponsors that I had, through the years, old sponsors, car owners and stuff like that. Lisa called them all and told them what she was doing, and they volunteered the money. She asked for it, and they volunteered what they wanted to put in, and it's really quite an honor.
Yes.
I told somebody the other day it's kind of like going to a pre-funeral.
Oh, shit.
That way you see who's going to be at your funeral.
Well, I'll be the MC if you need one that day.
That'll work. That'll work.
So, Howard, is it going to be cooler this weekend for you with the Howard Willis not memorial, but the Howard Willis race? Is it going to be cooler to have that, or cooler to kick my ass? Which one is going to be one's going to be the best when it's all said and done?
I think it was pretty cool kicking your ass. I've already done that, so
2 times, my friend, and I'm sure that we'll do it again next year. I'm sure that we'll do it again next year because
that'll work.
They're going to want to do it again. Howard, man, thank you so much for jumping on here. I'm so excited this weekend. I'm doing everything I can to get down there. I want to come and shake your hand and give you a hug and probably kiss you on the cheek. It's man, what a weekend, and you deserve it because you are truly a living legend, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate you guys.
You bet, man.
And hopefully we'll see everybody this weekend along with y'all.
That's right. That's right.
That's
It's
right.
Going to be a good old racing party coming up this weekend. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's going to be just like a barbecue that you go to, but you get to race too.
That's right. That's right. It's going to be a good time. 105 Speedway.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it ought to be good. It ought to be a good show.
Yes, sir. Take care. Be well, and we'll see you this weekend, my man.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Howard.
You
All
bet.
right. All right. Bye.
There he goes. God damn, that guy.
One of the best to
I
ever
want
do
to
it.
hug him. It's one of those things to where it's like he's just so fucking cool. I mean, it's how many times do you get to just talk to a dude that is
Kick that much ass?
man?
So do you remember? I totally remember it myself. Do you remember the first time you ever got to talk to and interview Howard Willis at a racetrack? I do. It was at HMP when they were putting up the bounties on Zach Hausler, and he was running Raymond's car. I heard about this guy, Howard Willis, forever, and I knew that he was an ass kicker and knew that he was good. But then when I got to meet him, one of the nicest guys I ever met. Humble, friendly, just a genuinely nice ass dude that a lot of times we've known a lot of nice people.
Yeah.
But we very rarely know nice, humble, damn good people in this sport.
I mean, the whole thing with him is he's everything that racing personifies, that it should be. I mean, he's just I mean, that's Howard. I mean, right there. You can stop him on the street, and he's going to have that conversation with you, and just sit there and bullshit and tell stories, and want to be and want to hear your story as well. I mean, the whole thing is, even some of the first times the first year that I went to Texana and got to talk to Howard, he's like, man, I remember when you ran the street stocks in Kyle. I'm like, what?
Damn.
It's he's just such a good fucking dude, and that's where, you young guys that are growing up right now, that are becoming the next Howard Willis, and you should want to be the next Howard Willis, not so much to win 1,000 races, but to win them in the way that he does it, and to be that guy, to be that dude right there that wants to just have a conversation and just wants to be a good person. He's even like when you go to the track now, you run into him, and he's just a dude hanging out. I mean,
or asleep on the floor.
When right when I was at Texana the last time, my dad had never met Howard Willis, and he walked up to Howard Willis, and Howard's like, "Hello, Rodney's dad," whatever. Never introduced himself. Did not fucking tell my dad who he was. He's like, "Great to meet you. You got a good son here. Whatever." And we walk off, and I'm like, "That's Howard Willis." He's like, "What?" He's just a good guy, man. He's just a good guy. And this weekend for him to have that celebration, my God, that's going to be so cool.
It's going to be awesome.
Man, that's going to be cool.
It's going to be cool. That's a race you got to get to in person. Race on Texas is going to do a fantastic job.
They better.
But damn, that's a race. That's a race you got to go to in person.
My God, that is going to be so cool. That's going to be so cool and so deserved to see that guy get the honor that he deserves. I mean, because we talk to so many times on the show. We talk to legends, and it's like, tell us about your career when you raced, and they tell us all these stories. And we get Howard on here, and it's like, tell us about all the stories. Tell us about the Texas Racer Champions at TWS, and he's like, he tells that story, but he just fucking won last week.
Yeah, just won. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm cussing over here, and I have a young man on the
hotline.
Oh,
see, and you talked about me doing it.
My God, and this could be a dude that could be one of the next Howard Willises, because he dives in there, gets out there. He and his family, they race these race cars. They get out there. They're doing stuff the right way. For the first time on the hotline, so excited! I got to meet this young man a while back, and again, courtesy, young guy doing it the right way, and he punched the ticket there at the South Texas Race Ranch. Welcome to the Revved Up Sports Show, my man, Jared Edmond. Jared, how we doing, sir?
I'd hate to correct you, sir, but it's Jaden Edmond.
Oh, Jay, I'm sorry. I'm looking.
He's still excited from talking to Howard Willis.
Jaden, I know your name, dude. I'm over here looking at this thing, and I'm all confused over here talking to Howard. But
it's all good.
Jaden, let's talk about this past weekend, dude. You're selling your car, and you get out there, and you're kicking everybody's ass. That's a good way to sell that thing.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why we're trying to sell the E-Mod, I mean, I mainly did it stepping out of outlaw carts just to get my hands on a big car. At first, we had our hands on a mini Sprint. It was like a little 600 restricted wing car, and we never really got the chance to race that. And then we just kind of dedicated our time more into E-Mods and running more local. And so once we kind of got carried away with that, we got this car, and I'll tell you what, we've had a lot of good days with this car. It's been fantastic. It's been an honor driving it.
No doubt.
But I think the plan next year, the reason why it's for sale, we're trying to go to 305 sprints next year.
Ooh.
Shit. Nice.
So that's got to be a change. I mean, it takes a lot of fortitude to race an E-Mod or a modified. And now you're moving up to the sprint cars. That takes a lot of testicular fortitude and grapefruit. So talk about, are you mentally prepared for that, going from a modified to a sprint car?
I've had nothing but excitement and like so many fantastic thoughts about it, because a lot of the people that I race outlaw carts with, I don't know if you're familiar with a lot of the people that run up north, like Cycle Land, Speedway, and Red Bluff Outlaws. They run the 500cc outlaw cart, and a lot of the people I grew up racing with when I was younger, they actually moved up to like a good 60% of them run sprint cars now, and I think that would probably suit my driving style just perfectly the way I want it, because whenever I first stepped into the E-Mod, I was really impatient about it. It felt, I mean, yeah, you're physically going faster, but mentally it felt slow to me.
Yeah.
Like it felt very slow paced, and you actually had to take your time around these corners instead of full throttle and let the throttle steer you. It's completely different. So I don't know if you're able to tell, but I know at one point I got a little bit anxious once Parker Titzman got around me.
Yeah.
I went into turn 1 and 2, and I got a little bit high. I didn't lose too much speed, but that's whenever I didn't lift at all. Like, I probably stayed in it, let off, and then just got back into it like immediately. Like, really no time to let the car do its thing and turn. So I was really, I don't know. I've always driven like that, and it's pretty weird.
Yeah, no doubt. And Jaden, I do want to ask you that. I kind of did it backwards. I raced the big cars for a long time, and then got into a dwarf car. Talk about that, Jaden. The car control that you learn, whether it be in a kart or whatever the case may be, when you're in one of those small cars and then you get into one of these bigger cars right here, it is. I mean, it's like, it sucks. I mean, you can't get it to go. I mean, it just will not go with the throttle response and the brake control and everything that you have in a kart or something like that. That really is, in my opinion, now looking bass backwards, the way to learn how to be a badass race car driver.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was just a big change. Like, I really didn't have the patience. I remember I used to loop, whenever I first got into it and I was learning the car, man, I looped it just about every race, or not every race, but I mean, I was definitely one of the most impatient people I know. To Parker Titzman's brother, Nathan Titzman, who drove that car all last season, he done whipped my rear end quite a few times because of me not having the patience, me just being very anxious. So I've definitely learned a few things or two with this car. It's definitely taught me a lot of valuable lessons about patience. And I think that's very much helped me in carrying the sport mod very much.
So in terms, I obviously seen you win a couple of races there at the race ranch, seen you win a couple of races there at Texana. Driving style wise, obviously two similar but yet totally different racetracks. Do you have a preference on one? I mean, you win at both. I mean, do you have to change your driving style a lot between the two, or are you just kind of strap in and point it and go?
The race ranch, I know that I've always been familiar with the race ranch for a little bit, because that's the track that I originally started out on, and once I was in E-Mods for about a year, then we just about took it up to Texana. But one thing I noticed about the race ranch, you can definitely haul a lot more speed, and I've just gotten more comfortable slinging these cars. They're not the best handling cars, but I've just managed a way to get them to sling. And with Texana, you really can't do that. You just have to let it roll through the corners, because I remember one of my very first races there, I wasn't totally used to a dry slick track, because at the time I think Stephen Whitaker ran the track, and whenever I first started, and it was 90% of the nights it was a pretty tacky hammer down track, like how it was this past Saturday night.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was definitely quite a big change for me. So I've definitely learned my way through hammer down and dry slick, and I think probably my main key reason why I did so well at Texana in my sport mod was because it was a hammer down track. I mean, we almost got rained out that day, and that was my very first race of the year in the sport mod. So I was very fortunate enough to make that race. I almost didn't.
Yeah. Jaden, talk about some of the young guys. I mean, you mentioned Titzman a while ago. There's so many of you young guys and ladies that get out here and race, and man, it just talk about the field of drivers that get out there and run, whether it be in an E-Mod, a sport mod, whatever. The sky is the limit for you young folks, it seems like, in these divisions.
Yeah, it seems like this year we've had a pretty tough shoot of racers. I just really felt like a lot of, since they're still fairly new, and I get it, I was that person before, but I know I was that person before where I didn't use brakes, so I mean, I sent it a little bit hard, but I've always made sure to drive people clean. But this year, I totally get it. They're still learning, and hey, they got some fast cars though. I'll tell you what, it was not easy. It has not been easy this season, not at all.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So in terms of, I'm still perplexed by this move to the sprint car thing. It's just like it just seems like two different animals, right? Like you talking about the sport mod or the sport mod and even the E mod need, the world goes slow and you got to wait for it to happen, and it just seems like sprint cars go so fast and they move. In terms of it, I guess it does kind of remind you of the mini sprints to a certain extent. But what in your mind the transition that you have to make from the driving those? Are you going to have to change your style, or you think that the style you have now, once you fill into the 305 or 360 or whatever sprint car, doesn't matter, pick an engine size, you think your driving style is just going to fit into one of those, and you're not going to have to change much? I'm just intrigued by the move to a sprint car.
With those cars, it's mainly the throttle that turns them. So as long as I keep my foot down to the ground, I think I'll be okay. Because those outlaw karts, I've just about driven any kind of track style you can imagine with those outlaws. I've driven anything from dry slick to very sandy and very cushion happy tracks. I ran a series since I was 7 years old and all the way up to last year. It's the MWRS, the Midwest Winter Race Series.
Nice.
I ain't no stranger there, so it's something to do every winter, and I think we're definitely going to try to hit it again. I know this past 2 years we've definitely been taking we've gone 2 years now with my girlfriend Kaden Petty. I've let her actually race my 250 outlaw kart, and she's actually done a fantastic job. And I think it's really just a lot of fun. Even though they just seem like they're these little cars and they don't really mean nothing, but I'll tell you what, you can definitely learn a thing or two from driving them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet. So your thoughts, Jaden. How far do you want to take this? Obviously you're a young dude. You're doing great things right now. What's the end goal for you? We talk to a lot of young race drivers on this show, and it's like, I want to go to NASCAR, blah, blah, blah. A lot of folks, World of Outlaws. Where does Jaden Edmond want to be when it's all said and done here, with your racing career?
I would really like to take it as long as my dad gets to be a part of the journey and the people I love are still in it. That's what really is all in it for me. But like you said, NASCAR, me personally, I think it's got too much drama. I'm going to steer away from that. I like being on dirt.
Yeah.
But maybe one of these days, I'm either thinking of the dirt car UMPs or the World of Outlaw sprints, and I've always kept up with those. And I think I know that Brad Sweet and Sheldon Haldenshield has definitely been a big role model of mine for a long time, and
yes, sir.
I definitely look up to those guys a lot. So, and I know Nick Hoffman and the UMPs is definitely one of my guys I look up to. So, I would love to chase after that one of these days. So,
yep.
I think this year it was more like a kind of letdown year because, not to mention, we've got motor number 4 in the sport mod going in because every time we've put a motor in that sport mod this year, it has just been maybe 2 or 3 laps and then boom.
That sucks.
Yeah, so once we get the old nuclear banana back on the track, I think we'll be back all nice and good now. So
I love
think
that.
We got it.
Nuclear banana. I fucking love that. Or I love that. Sorry about that. I love that, dude.
It's something.
So, Haldenshield has some really cool koozies. I have a couple of the Haldenshield koozies there that are unique. I like them, and my friends like them. My wife doesn't care for them that much, but they happen to be a silhouette of a female there. So cool koozies. But other than that, so you talked about leaning more towards that dirt side. In terms of, let's talk about like flow racing, right? As somebody that's youngster trying to move up, it seems like every night you can flip on flow racing at any day of the week, except when you're watching the Revved Up Sports Show on Mondays.
That's right. Don't miss that.
it seems like there's a race everywhere. Are you one of those that just will watch the race and take it like a sponge and just see, you may see Kyle Larson go all out into turn number 1 in a sprint car versus the way Jonathan Davenport dives into turn 3? I mean, are you one of those racers that just watches it on TV and able to just scoop it up, or do you have to be more in the seat to try to learn more?
It's a little bit of both. With these a lot bigger cars, they with these E-mods and the sport mods, I've noticed that they push a lot if you don't have the right setup on them, which is probably not the best thing, because I know a few weekends ago at I-37, you had some pretty nasty pushes. But, I mean, I was pretty fast on the top side while I try to keep the car straight. So it was my first race there, I-37, so I would love to go back there as soon as I can. But like you asked, I do keep up with a lot of the stuff on Flow Racing and World of Outlaws and Red Bluff Outlaws, just any kind of televised dirt racing. I will sit there and I will soak it up, and it move after spectacular move. Mm-hmm. I love all of that, because I'm like, hey, if they can win races like that and it's still kind of, if it's clean, I would love to pull it off.
Yeah.
It's all part of it. It's what puts together a good show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. So, Mr. Edmond, what all you have for the rest of the year? I know we're getting down to big time racing and the big money shows and everything as we start to cool this thing down. What else you got going, Jaden, for the rest of the year?
Well, I know that me and my dad were definitely talking about going to that big show they got going on in Kennedale for the $5,000 to win, bringing the whole sport mod up there. So. I know definitely this year we were definitely trying to hit up some IMCA tracks instead of stay down south, try to get my name out there a little bit more. But, man, with that nuclear banana, we have just not had the best luck at all. I'll tell you what, that it has been sitting for way too long. We're trying. Because I know, what was it? My first time we went to I-37, the weekend before that, we were going to go to Waco. And, we got rained out.
Of course.
And then we went to I-37, did maybe 2 or 3 hot laps, and then, your crankshaft snapped in half. Nice. So that was fun. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And ever since that motor, it's been, fun.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I'll tell you what, Jaden, you kicked their ass this past weekend at the race ranch. That was fun to watch, and we did. You and I looked like we were making out there in Victory Lane, like I was proposing to you.
No, his girlfriend not gonna like that.
Hey, we're supposed to keep that between me and you, pal.
That's right. That's right. Don't tell Caden. Don't tell Caden Petty. She's gonna be like,
okay.
Oh, you guys. No. Good stuff, man. Hope you sell that car. You were kicking ass, my man. Keep doing it, and we're going to do this again soon, because you're one of those guys. You are one of those guys. You got everything you need to do to keep doing it, and looking forward to talking to you again soon, my man.
All right. It was a pleasure y'all having me on the show. Nice talking to you again, Mr. Rodney. Nice seeing you again, Mr. Bobby. I definitely do look forward to this again and seeing you again.
Absolutely.
All right, hopefully sooner than later.
Yes, sir. Take care, my friend. We'll do it soon.
You got it, pal.
You bet. Take care. Jared Edmond, Mr. Bobby,
Jaden Edmond,
Jaden. God dang it! Why do I always get that wrong?
I don't know.
Jaden.
Caden is the one that's going to kick your ass for getting it wrong.
No. We're old, dude. We're Mr.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, man.
I actually do that on purpose. So,
it's like when you check out, they're like, Mr. Chappie. I'm like, where the hell's my dad?
I'll tell you, the cool thing is, right there, back to back, you have a living legend, and then you have Jaden Edmond talking right there. I mean, that's
he's got the priorities right.
He does.
He's got the ducks in a row to make a good run at this stuff.
He really does, and he. I'll tell you, it's guys like that, like Jaden, that come on here and they talk and they have the right priorities in mind, and I really do. I mean, I hope that youngsters like that are able to
learn,
keep doing this. I mean, that's really cool stuff. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's great to see the contrast, though. For some of these young guys have it, and they have it the right way. Then you got some of these other guys that are, they a little more rough around the edges, so to speak. Right? We've seen people with the most amount of talent find a way to piss it away in the worst way possible, and then we've seen the guys that have started out from scratch with not a clue in the world, have turned into some really, really good racers. Mm-hmm. He's one of those that's on the right path that we'll see how this 360, the sprint car world treats him, because it'll spit out it comes in and spits you out if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember the first time that I met him, Jaden. He came up and he walked up and he's like, shook my hand, put his hand out, and he's like, hey, introduced himself, and he's like, I love what you do for racing, and my name is whatever, and here's what I do, and that's a really good thing right there. That is a really good thing right there, and I think the future is bright for him, and a lot of young folks that do this, men and women. I mean, his girlfriend, she's on the right path too. So,
and she's been on the show.
Yeah, she has
beat him to the show. That's her bragging rights right there for couples therapy.
Yep, she certainly has. Hey, Generation Race Cars, of course, big sponsor right here on the Revved Up Sports Show. Don't forget to check them out right there. Some of the best race cars you're going to find in the region, doing really cool stuff. So, Bobby, as we dive in here, getting ready to sign out of this bad boy, I'm really excited about the Howard Willis thing. Man,
that 105 race is going to be good.
Dude.
I would get there early because I got a feeling it's going to be a hell of a crowd down there, too.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to make their way out. And if you're catching this, whether it be on Race on Texas or our page on the Revved Up page, I mean, go on out there. Go celebrate a legend right here. This dude, he's waving at you. That's a bad son of a gun right there.
And it sure is.
Bad son of a gun.
And don't forget, if you find us on TV, revved.sportshow.tv, that takes you to the YouTube page. Don't forget to sign up and subscribe to the YouTube. You'll find us one way or the other. I know that if you sign up just right with Race on Texas, it tells you when we go live. Same thing with our page. It'll tell you when you go live. Same thing with YouTube. It'll tell you when we go live. If you can't catch it live, catch the replays on the same platforms, or catch us on a download. We're with all your favorite podcast platforms. Wherever you go to download your stuff, we're right there. Just search Revved Up Sports Show.
All the time. The Spotify, everything. We're on each and every one of those, whether it be video and audio. My man, what's your week look like?
Going to be a busy week. Got a lot of stuff to tie up at work because of the whole deal next Monday. But I think I'm going to do everything I can to get all the loose ends tied up and get down to Cleveland for that 105 show with Howard.
Yeah, definitely. I want to make that one. You guys, find a local short track. Get your ass out to one of those tracks. And if you can't, find a streamer. Race on Texas, whatever. Just support. Just support
local short track racing.
That's right. He's Bobby. I'm Rodney. We're gone. We are back next Monday, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, right here. You guys have a great week.